For those of our audience members who don't know you, I want to just give everyone a quick bio. Dondrea Owens is a certified public accountant, a CPA, who helps entrepreneurs and creatives achieve clarity and confidence with their money. Before launching the Creative CFO, Dondrea worked in public accounting by day and ran her wedding invitations business, Jenkins Rose, which I love, on Instagram by night.
Thanks.
Her core mission is to educate and empower business owners to confidently make financial decisions through knowing their numbers. Thank you again for joining us. Taxes. There have been a ton of questions about taxes in every aspect of what Ashley even talked about. I saw it. What is the tax filing deadline for the 2019 taxes? Because I've heard that potentially has changed.
Okay. So as of now, we know that it is July 15th, 2020. Okay. So that is the date that you have to file and pay your taxes. After that date, penalties and interest will start to accrue on any amounts that you owe. Now, granted, everyone is eligible for an extension to file all the way through October 15th, 2020. But what happens is from July 16th until that date, you are charged interest and penalties. But you are eligible to file that. That's Form 4868. You fill it out, mail it in, or you can do it online. And extend your filing deadline.
Does that also apply to the quarterly estimateds? Like, are those getting delayed or are those still on time?
Well, the very first one has been delayed. So Q1, which would be January 1st through March 31st, has been delayed until July 15th. They have not yet delayed Q2, which is the partial quarter. It goes from April 1st to May 31st. It is still sitting at June 15th. We're expecting that they may move that, but it's not happened yet.
About taxes in regards to unemployment benefits. If we receive unemployment benefits, will we be required to pay additional taxes for this, or is it tax-free?
Okay. Unemployment benefits are taxable.
Okay.
So you can opt to have the taxes removed before the payment is sent to you, or you can opt to do your tax return and then owe taxes after that. Some states may not give you that option. They may withhold federal taxes right off the top. So it does somewhat depend on your state, but they are taxable. So my advice is always to have those taxes withheld.
Okay.
It removes the liability from you. Sort of eases the burden a bit, and you don't want to get into the habit of spending money that technically isn't yours. So I always say have that removed before the check is sent to you, and that just releases you or relieves you of some of that tax burden.
Okay, fantastic. And then what about stimulus checks? Do we need to pay taxes on the money that we're receiving in the form of those checks that Ashley talked about?
No, stimulus checks are non-taxable.
Can you use SBA grants and loans to pay taxes?
If you did, it eliminates that loan being able to be forgiven.
Okay.
It's not something I would advise at this point, because right now, any taxes that you owe the IRS, you're getting some leeway with those. So right now, they've been put on hold. Currently, if you're on an installment plan, let's say you owe taxes. So the IRS is suspending those payments at this time. So you have from April 1st to July 15th not to make those payments. Now, if you are set up on an automatic payment, you'll want to go in and disable that for that period of time. But you are able to skip those payments penalty-free, not interest-free. If you have previously been on that installment agreement, whatever the interest rate was for that time will continue to be charged, but you are not being held to that payment during this period of time.
Is it a smart idea to take a business loan? When should you consider doing it?
Taking a business loan could be very smart, especially if you're trying to preserve your team so that once business resumes, you are able to pick up business as usual. If there's any chance that what you're taking this loan out for will not be used for items that will be forgiven, we're talking about payroll, mortgage, utilities, those things, and that you will be responsible for repaying that loan, you'll want to consider if you are sure you will have the cash flow to repay that loan. And so that is the real litmus test. Will you have the funds coming in from revenue to repay a loan if it is not forgiven? So it's all about knowing your numbers and having some cash flow.
What is their liability to these employees and contractors, and how can they help them?
I'll say the number one responsibility to your team, to your employees and contractors, is honesty. Is to have that conversation with them very early on about what the options are, to be able to have them consider, that you're looking at being able to pay them the full amount, to be able to pay them a partial amount, The fact that some of your employees or contractors you may have to terminate your contracts with. It puts them in a better place to make a decision that works for them and their families. And it also gives them confidence in you as a business owner that you were very transparent during this time that is affecting all of us. I don't think anyone is holding any grudges about business decisions that have to be made during this time. It is unfortunate all the way around. Yeah. But I think we can go a long way with honesty and transparency about what we see in the future, because we're able to see the numbers in our businesses. You know, we know what revenue is coming in, what's not. And I think from that standpoint, we know very early on whether we're going to be able to make payroll or not and what our options are there. So just being transparent with your team and letting them know what you see coming down the pipeline so that they can then adjust and aren't left hanging on by a thread.
I want to pivot a little bit and talk specifically about financial strategy. And so for business owners who won't have any revenue coming in over the next few weeks and months due to this global pandemic, how should they change their financial strategy? What can they do right now to make sure that they survive this season?
Well, I will echo something I talk about all the time, and that is knowing your numbers. It's easy to enter into a state of panic and to kind of worry about what the future holds. But we need to get in there with some hardcore facts. So what does it take to run your business? Get to know those numbers. If you are operating a business, you've got business operations, you've got your team members that you pay, you've got software expenses, all of these things that help you do business well. You need to look at those and start to ask yourself which ones of those are most essential to running your business and which ones can you do without. Now is that time to have that hard conversation and say, you know, this is what's essential. This is my bare bones number that I can run this business on. And then look at your cash, see what you have sitting in your bank account. And you want to look at those two numbers together and say, how long can I run this business without any new money coming in? And that is your answer. So from there, that should give you a set of next steps to take. So if you look at that and you say, I can carry my business forward another 2 months without anything else coming in. So that tells me I need something else coming in the door. So I've got to get really creative at that point. We are all skilled beyond that thing we do that brings in the most revenue for us. But there are other skills that you have as a business owner that are very, very profitable for so many people entering into this online space. And I think that's what we're seeing now is the pivot. Right. So don't be afraid to pivot during this time. And I think, you know, taking the time to stop and look back at what has happened in your business is really valuable during this time too. So take a moment of reflection. Don't bypass this moment trying to get to better times. Better days are ahead. Yes. But I want you to look back at what has happened and to really ask yourself the tough questions and say, what could we have done differently in business to be in a much better spot today? And then let's do those things because we all know recessions come and then they go and then they come back again. And so we want you to be in a much better position next time when this occurs. And to do that, you've got to look back and see what you could have done differently. And I guarantee you part of that will be knowing your numbers. The other part will be staying lean and understanding what it really takes to run a business and to do that a little bit better, to diversify your revenue. That's another biggie that, you know, I've seen coming up for people. It's just to be really honest about those things and try to build that runway now while you've got this time.
These steps that we're talking about, taking them today, it's going to make you stronger on the other side of this. And I love what Dondrea said. When we get through this, you know, and we will get through this. We want to step into that season with knowing our numbers and being strong financially. And I want to we've been talking about business. Let's pivot a little into personal expenses. Are there any opportunities for people listening or should they take steps right now potentially to also address some of their personal expenses in light of everything that's happening?
Absolutely. And the three biggest ones that I've seen have been mortgages, student loans, and cars. All of those have been really responsive to people needing financial assistance during this time. A lot of student loan websites have a special page just for COVID-19 relief. You can go to those pages and get a no questions asked 90-day forbearance. If you have a federal student loan, your interest is being waived at this time, but your principal payments are not. So if you've previously been set up for automatic payments, you'll want to call and have those suspended. They are able to do that and they can give you 90 days. Some will give you more than that if you have an economic hardship and you'll just have to file additional paperwork. But what I'm seeing right now is 90 days, no questions asked for that.
Wow.
And then with mortgage companies, I'm seeing that you're able to call in, get a forbearance. They're taking these payments that they are forbearing at this time and moving them to the end of your loan. Meaning, if your loan previously ended in March, they're going to extend it out 3 more months. So it will end in June. And a lot of them can extend that based on just how much income has been affected in your household. So those are the questions they're asking. Car payments are doing the same thing.
At what point, what is that critical threshold, that might trigger them to think, okay, actually, I do need the loan, or actually, I do need assistance right now. Is it, running out within 3 months, 1 month, hopefully longer than that? But I would love to know from you, how do they figure it out? And then what do they need to be looking for critically?
Okay. So the easiest way to figure it out is to look at what liquid assets you have right now. So for most people, that's going to be cash, money market accounts, that sort of thing. I don't count accounts receivable in this equation because those are funds that you haven't yet received. They may be due to you, but in this current climate, it's up in the air as to whether you'll collect them or not. So I use cash, and then I divide that by the average monthly expense for your business. So an easy way to get this number is to look back at your profit and loss statement over the last 3 months, or you can do it over the last 6 months if you've got a business that kind of goes up and down. Get that average for your expenses, and then you'll take your cash on hand today, divide it by that average monthly expense, and that will give you a number. You want that number to be approximately 3 months. If you've not been holding cash in your business over time, the number you see might be pretty scary. If you're below the 1 month mark with no signs of cash coming in, I say definitely don't delay. You do need to seek assistance with your business, especially if you pay people. You need to alert your people, let them know what's coming down the pipeline for you and for them, because it's going to take some time to get those funds in your bank account and be able to take care of your people and your business.
How do we diversify these revenue streams in order to bring money back into the business? And like we talked about, set ourselves up for success. So Dondrea, could you share with us, what are some of the revenue streams that we should all be thinking about right now, setting up if we do have extra time?
I made a list of a few, and they will apply to different businesses in different ways, but I guarantee you, just hearing them and hearing what they're about, you'll be able to take some of your skill set and apply it to some of these and create some amazing offers here in the online space and beyond. So the very first one that came to mind, intensives, especially for coaches and people like that, even for photographers. If you are a wedding photographer and you're rocking it out and you've got thousands of Instagram followers, I guarantee you there is someone who wants to learn from you, especially now. This is a time when people are building skills. So if you can hold an intensive with 2 or 3 people who really want to learn how it is that you make the magic happen with your photos, now's the time to do it. Put it together. What are the top 3 things that you wish you knew when you first started? And put together a course based on that, or some one-on-one intensive. I've seen people doing done for you or DIY type options with their services. I've seen people with high ticket offers that span over 6 months, break down sections of those and create ebooks and webinars and master classes. So it will be getting in front of your ideal client, but in a different way. You're still providing value. You're still getting paid for your service. You're not diminishing your services in any way, but you are breaking it down into affordable chunks for the people who still need you, but aren't able to afford you at your high ticket offer. I'm seeing a lot of collaborations. If you're online, you're seeing a lot of people hopping into groups with one another who ordinarily you would not have seen together, but they recognize that together they can make a huger impact than they can by themselves. There are services that go hand in hand. For example, you've got people who manage Facebook ads doing collaborations with people who do Instagram ads, and they're telling you how that all works together for people who are selling products. It's going to be you being really creative and staying really visible during this time. And some of that too is going to be you going into your own personal lab, as I like to say, and coming up with some new ideas, some fresh ideas that you can deliver to people during this time. Membership communities. I am seeing those pop up because what has happened now is that, everyone's in a state of panic and trying to get to a place of calm. And I'm seeing small membership communities pop up where people are forming these masterminds, some paid, some unpaid, and they are coming up with these ideas together, which I think is it's what our community is all about. It's why, I chose to stay in the creative community even after Wedding Invitations, is because that is what we are good for, coming together, creating ideas, and helping one another during this time. And I think we're going to continue to see that even after this pandemic passes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So much knowledge, so much information dropped. Where can people find you? Where can they learn more about you?
So I'm online at thecreativecfo.com and on Instagram by the same, at thecreativecfo. I'm always on Instagram in my DMs. That's my favorite place to be. I'm also in the Rising Tide community on Facebook. So you can reach me there. Just at me with your questions. And yeah, I'm happy to serve the community.
Amazing. Dondrea, thank you so much for joining us today.